The morning air at Fort Benning carried the weight of expectation and the sting of Georgia humidity as Staff Sergeant Maria Santos approached the final evaluation station. 3 months of grueling preparation had led to this moment, the culmination of her dream to join the Army's elite sniper program. The range stretched before her like a theater of judgment, with targets positioned at distances that would challenge even seasoned marksmen. Maria had always understood that the sniper school selection process was designed to eliminate candidates, not welcome them. The statistics were unforgiving: less than 30% of applicants successfully completed the course, and, among female candidates, the numbers were even more daunting. She had spent countless hours studying ballistics, practicing breath control, and honing her marksmanship skills on ranges across 3 different military installations. The selection committee consisted of 4 instructors, each bearing the weathered look of veterans who had seen combat in multiple theaters. Their faces revealed nothing as they observed Maria's approach to the shooting position. She carried her rifle, a precision instrument she had come to know as intimately as her own heartbeat, with the confidence born of thousands of practice rounds. The first challenge involved engaging targets at 600 meters under simulated combat conditions. Wind flags along the range indicated a crosswind of approximately 8 miles per hour from the northwest, requiring careful adjustment of both elevation and windage. Maria settled into her prone position, adjusting her bipod legs and ensuring her natural point of aim aligned perfectly with the target. Through her scope, the world narrowed to a precise calculation of distance, wind, temperature, and humidity. The target appeared clear and sharp at 10x magnification, a silhouette representing an enemy combatant in a scenario that could determine life or death in actual combat. Her breathing slowed to the rhythm she had practiced countless times: inhale, exhale halfway, hold, squeeze the trigger with steady, even pressure. The first shot broke cleanly, the rifle's recoil absorbed smoothly through her shoulder. The spotting scope confirmed impact within the acceptable zone, though not the perfect center she had hoped for. 4 more rounds followed in rapid succession, each one a testament to her training and dedication. When the firing sequence concluded, 3 of 5 rounds had found their mark within the required parameters. The silence that followed seemed to stretch indefinitely. Maria remained in position, knowing that premature movement could result in additional penalties. The instructors consulted their scoring sheets with the methodical precision of surgeons reviewing a complex procedure. Finally, the range safety officer's voice cut through the tension. "Candidate Santos, you may clear your weapon and approach the tower." The walk to the evaluation station felt longer than the 600 meters to the target. Each step carried the weight of months of preparation, years of military service, and a lifetime of proving herself in a profession dominated by skepticism about women's capabilities in combat roles. Maria's mind raced through possible scenarios, calculating whether her performance had met the stringent requirements. Master Sergeant Rodriguez, the senior instructor, held her scorecard with an expression that revealed nothing. His 23 years of military service included multiple combat deployments and oversight of hundreds of sniper candidates. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of experience and the finality of institutional decision-making. "Staff Sergeant Santos, your overall performance during the evaluation period has been evaluated according to established criteria. Your marksmanship skills demonstrate competency, and your knowledge of fieldcraft shows adequate preparation. However, the selection board has determined that your performance does not meet the standards required for advancement to the sniper course." The words hit Maria with more force than any physical blow she had ever experienced. Months of preparation, sacrificed leave time, missed family gatherings, and countless hours of practice seemed to evaporate in an instant. The rejection felt particularly sharp because she knew her scores were borderline rather than clearly inadequate, a margin that could be attributed to any number of factors beyond her control. "Your marksmanship score of 78% meets minimum standards, but the board requires demonstration of exceptional capability rather than mere competency. Additionally, concerns have been raised about your physical conditioning scores and your ability to carry the additional equipment weight required for extended sniper operations in challenging terrain." Maria maintained military bearing despite the crushing disappointment. Years of service had taught her that showing emotion in such situations would only confirm the doubts some harbored about women's suitability for elite military roles. She accepted the feedback with appropriate military courtesy, though internally she questioned the subjective nature of some evaluation criteria.
The physical conditioning assessment had indeed been challenging.
Sniper operations often required carrying equipment loads exceeding 60 pounds across difficult terrain for extended periods. The evaluation included a 12-mile ruck march with full equipment, during which Maria had maintained the required pace but finished among the slower third of candidates.
Her smaller stature, while advantageous for concealment, created disadvantages when competing directly against larger male candidates in strength-dependent tasks.
As Maria departed the evaluation facility, her mind began processing the rejection through the lens of future action rather than present disappointment. The military had taught her that setbacks were opportunities for analysis and improvement.
She requested detailed feedback on her performance, studying every aspect of the evaluation to identify specific areas requiring development.
The drive back to her unit provided time for reflection on the broader implications of her experience. The sniper program represented more than professional advancement. It symbolized the ongoing struggle for women to gain acceptance in combat roles traditionally reserved for men. Her rejection would likely be interpreted by some as evidence supporting limitations on women's participation in elite military units. That evening, Maria sat in her barracks room reviewing the evaluation criteria and her scores across all assessed areas. The marksmanship component, while meeting minimum standards, clearly required improvement to reach the exceptional level demanded by the selection board. Her physical fitness scores, though within acceptable ranges for her military occupational specialty, fell short of the enhanced standards expected for sniper operations. The equipment familiarity portion of the evaluation had gone well, reflecting her thorough preparation and natural mechanical aptitude. Her knowledge of ballistics, range estimation, and target identification had exceeded minimum requirements. The fieldcraft assessment, covering camouflage, movement techniques, and observation skills, had earned satisfactory ratings across all measured areas. Analysis of her performance revealed that improvement in marksmanship precision represented the most achievable path to meeting selection standards. Physical conditioning, while important, would require longer-term development and might never fully compensate for natural physical differences. Focusing her efforts on achieving exceptional marksmanship scores offered the best opportunity for future success. The rejection stung not only because of its immediate impact on Maria's career aspirations but also because of its broader implications for other women considering similar paths. Military culture often treated individual failures as representative of group capabilities, particularly when those individuals belonged to historically excluded demographics. Her failure might be cited as evidence supporting continued restrictions on women's access to elite military roles. Part 2, The Moment of Truth. 6 months after her rejection from sniper school, Maria found herself in an entirely different kind of evaluation, one where lives hung in the balance rather than career advancement. The forward operating base in eastern Afghanistan had been under intermittent sniper fire for 3 days, with enemy marksmen positioned in the mountainous terrain surrounding the installation. Multiple attempts to locate and neutralize the threat had failed, resulting in 2 wounded soldiers and significant disruption to base operations. Maria's unit had been tasked with providing perimeter security while specialized teams worked to identify the sniper positions. As a designated marksman, she carried an enhanced rifle system capable of engaging targets at extended ranges, though her official role fell short of the sniper designation she had sought. The irony was not lost on her that she now faced the exact type of scenario for which sniper school was designed to prepare candidates. The morning briefing had painted a stark picture of the tactical situation. Intelligence estimates suggested at least 2 enemy snipers operating from positions in the ridgeline approximately 800 to 1,000 meters from the base perimeter. Previous attempts to locate them using conventional observation methods had failed, suggesting the presence of skilled opponents with excellent fieldcraft capabilities. Maria positioned herself at Observation Post 3, a reinforced position offering clear fields of fire toward the suspected enemy locations. Her rifle, a precision instrument capable of sub-minute of angle accuracy at extended ranges, represented months of additional training and practice since her sniper school rejection. Every spare moment had been devoted to improving her marksmanship skills, driven by determination to prove herself worthy of the opportunities denied to her. The morning passed without incident, the base settling into the tense routine of operations under sniper threat. Movement between positions occurred in planned rushes designed to minimize exposure time, while essential activities continued under the protection of armored barriers. The psychological impact of sniper fire extended far beyond its direct casualties, creating an atmosphere of constant vigilance and stress.
At 1,347 hours, the situation changed dramatically. A flash of reflected sunlight from the ridgeline caught Maria's attention through her spotting scope. Years of training had taught her to distinguish between natural phenomena and artificial reflections that might indicate enemy presence. She focused her observation on the suspected location, a cluster of rocks and vegetation approximately 900 meters from her position. Through careful observation, Maria detected subtle signs of human presence that had been missed by previous surveillance efforts. A slight discoloration in the natural vegetation pattern suggested recent disturbance, while occasional minimal movement indicated the presence of a concealed observer. Her heart rate increased as she realized she had likely located one of the enemy sniper positions. The tactical situation required immediate decision-making. Standard procedure called for reporting the suspected location to headquarters for coordinated response, potentially including artillery or air support. However, the enemy's proven ability to relocate quickly meant that any delay might result in losing the opportunity to neutralize the threat.
Additionally, the proximity of civilian structures limited the use of explosive ordnance. Maria's training kicked in as she began the complex process of preparing for a precision shot at extreme range. 900 meters represented a significant challenge even for trained snipers, requiring careful calculation of environmental factors and precise execution. Wind conditions, temperature, humidity, and elevation differences all affected bullet trajectory at such distances. Using her spotting scope and ballistic calculator, Maria determined the required adjustments for the shot. The wind was running approximately 12 miles per hour from her left front, requiring significant windage correction. The elevated position of the target relative to her shooting position necessitated additional consideration of bullet drop compensation. As she settled into her firing position, Maria's mind cleared of everything except the technical requirements of the shot. Her breathing slowed to the controlled rhythm practiced thousands of times on ranges across the world. The rifle became an extension of her body, every component precisely aligned for maximum accuracy. Through her scope, the target area appeared magnified and crystal clear. A slight movement confirmed the presence of an enemy sniper, positioned exactly where her analysis had predicted. The range was extreme, pushing the capabilities of both weapon and shooter to their limits. Miss by mere inches, and the opportunity would be lost while revealing her position to a dangerous enemy. The crosshairs settled on the target with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. Maria's finger applied steady, even pressure to the trigger, feeling for the breakpoint that would release the shot. Time seemed suspended as she balanced the complex variables of wind, distance, and target movement into a single moment of perfect alignment. The rifle fired with a sharp crack that echoed across the valley. The recoil drove the weapon back into Maria's shoulder as she maintained her sight picture to observe the shot's impact. Through the scope, she saw the target drop immediately, confirming a successful engagement at a range that challenged even experienced snipers. Seconds later, a second muzzle flash from a nearby position revealed the presence of the enemy sniper's partner. Without hesitation, Maria began the process of engaging the second threat. Her first shot had revealed her position, meaning speed now became as important as precision. The second enemy sniper was beginning to relocate, presenting a moving target at extreme range. Maria's second shot broke cleanly just as the enemy figure reached the edge of concealment. The target stumbled and fell, disappearing behind the rocky outcropping that had provided concealment. Whether the shot had been immediately fatal or merely incapacitating remained unclear, but the threat to the base had been effectively neutralized. The silence that followed seemed almost supernatural after days of tension and intermittent gunfire. Radio chatter confirmed that observation posts across the base perimeter had witnessed the engagement and its successful conclusion. For the first time in 3 days, personnel could move about the base without fear of sniper fire. Within minutes, confirmation came from aerial reconnaissance that both enemy positions had been successfully engaged. The precision of Maria's shots at extreme range had accomplished what multiple specialized teams had failed to achieve over 3 days of operations. The threat that had paralyzed base operations and wounded 2 soldiers had been eliminated by a single marksman operating at the limits of human and equipment capability. The aftermath of the engagement brought a mixture of relief and professional satisfaction. Maria had not only proved her marksmanship capabilities under the most demanding circumstances but had done so at ranges and conditions that exceeded the standards of sniper school qualification. The rejection that had seemed so devastating 6 months earlier now appeared insignificant compared to the real-world demonstration of her abilities. Part 3, the transformation. The successful engagement changed Maria's status within her unit and the broader military community in ways that formal recognition could never achieve. Word of her precision shooting at extreme range under combat conditions spread through informal channels that carried more weight than official commendations. Soldiers who had witnessed or heard about the engagement began seeking her guidance on marksmanship techniques and equipment selection. Master Sergeant Rodriguez, the same instructor who had delivered her sniper school rejection, visited the forward operating base 2 weeks after the incident. His purpose was officially to conduct a routine assessment of marksmanship training programs, but his immediate request to speak with Maria suggested a more specific agenda. Their conversation took place at the same observation post where she had made her successful engagement. Staff Sergeant Santos, I've reviewed the after-action reports from your engagement last month. The ballistic analysis confirms shots at 900 and 920 meters under challenging environmental conditions. Both targets were eliminated with single shots, demonstrating exceptional marksmanship under combat stress. Rodriguez's tone carried none of the institutional formality that had characterized their previous interaction. His 24 years of military experience had taught him to recognize exceptional performance regardless of its source, and Maria's combat success demanded acknowledgement of capabilities that transcended the limitations of formal testing environments. The sniper school selection process is designed to identify candidates with the highest probability of success in training and subsequent operations. However, sometimes our evaluation methods fail to capture capabilities that emerge under actual combat conditions. Your performance here suggests we may have made an error in assessment. The conversation that followed revealed the inherent limitations of any selection process attempting to predict human performance under extreme stress. Maria's scores during the formal evaluation had been technically adequate but unremarkable. Nothing in her testing performance had suggested the exceptional capabilities she had demonstrated under actual combat conditions. Rodriguez explained that combat stress affected different individuals in vastly different ways. Some candidates who performed brilliantly in training environments failed completely when facing real threats, while others seemed to achieve peak performance only when confronting genuine danger. Maria's case represented the latter category, a phenomenon recognized but difficult to predict through conventional testing. The discussion expanded to address broader questions about the military's approach to identifying and developing exceptional capabilities. Traditional selection methods emphasized consistency and reliability, seeking candidates who could maintain adequate performance standards under various conditions. However, some of the most valuable capabilities emerged only under specific circumstances that formal testing could not replicate. Maria's transformation following her sniper school rejection had involved more than technical skill development. The disappointment had forced her to examine her motivations and commitment levels with unprecedented honesty. Rather than accepting the rejection as evidence of her limitations, she had chosen to view it as feedback requiring response through improved performance. The months following her rejection had been characterized by obsessive attention to marksmanship fundamentals. Every aspect of shooting technique had been analyzed and refined through countless hours of practice. She had studied ballistics theory with the intensity of a graduate student, learning to calculate trajectory adjustments under varying environmental conditions without relying on electronic aids. Physical conditioning had received equal attention, though Maria recognized that natural physical limitations could never be completely overcome through training alone. Instead, she had focused on developing endurance and carrying capacity to levels that would minimize any disadvantage relative to larger male counterparts. The goal was not to match their absolute capabilities but to eliminate physical fitness as a limiting factor in her performance. Mental conditioning had perhaps undergone the most significant transformation. The rejection had initially shaken Maria's confidence in her abilities and judgment. Recovery required rebuilding her self-assessment framework based on objective performance measures rather than institutional validation. She had learned to trust her skills while remaining open to continuous improvement. The psychological impact of her combat success extended far beyond personal vindication. Maria realized that her journey from rejection to exceptional performance represented a broader principle about human potential and institutional recognition. The formal evaluation process, despite its intention to identify the best candidates, remained imperfect in its ability to predict real-world performance. Rodriguez's visit concluded with an unexpected offer. The sniper school was implementing a new evaluation protocol designed to identify candidates whose capabilities might not be fully captured by traditional testing methods. Maria was invited to participate as both a candidate and a consultant in developing assessment criteria that would better predict combat performance. The offer represented more than a second chance at sniper qualification. It acknowledged that her experience had generated insights valuable to improving the selection process for future candidates. Her rejection and subsequent combat success had created a case study in the gap between institutional assessment and actual capability. Acceptance of the offer would require Maria to confront the institutional culture that had initially rejected her application. However, her combat experience had fundamentally changed her relationship with such challenges. The confidence born of successful performance under the most demanding conditions could not be shaken by institutional skepticism or bureaucratic obstacles. The broader implications of Maria's story extended to questions about how institutions identify and develop exceptional capabilities. Her experience suggested that some individuals required specific types of motivation or challenge to achieve peak performance. The rejection that had initially appeared as failure had actually provided the catalyst necessary for her transformation. The military's recognition of Maria's capabilities through Rodriguez's visit represented institutional learning and adaptation. Organizations that could acknowledge their assessment errors and incorporate new information into improved processes demonstrated the flexibility necessary for continued effectiveness. Her case would likely influence future evaluation protocols and training methodologies. Maria's transformation from rejected candidate to combat-proven marksman illustrated the complex relationship between formal qualification and actual capability. The sniper school's standards remained valid for identifying most successful candidates, but exceptional cases required recognition that transcended conventional evaluation methods. The psychological aspects of her journey revealed important insights about motivation and performance under pressure. The initial rejection had created a level of determination and focus that might never have emerged without that catalyst. Her subsequent training had been driven by a desire to prove herself that exceeded any external motivation that formal selection could provide. As Maria prepared to return to sniper school under the new evaluation protocol, she carried with her not only enhanced technical skills but also a transformed understanding of her own capabilities. The woman who had been rejected 6 months earlier no longer existed. In her place stood a combat-proven marksman whose abilities had been demonstrated under the ultimate test of real-world application. The rifle that had told her story in those crucial seconds on the mountainside had become more than a tool, it had become an extension of her transformed self. Every aspect of her interaction with the weapon reflected months of dedicated improvement and the confidence that came from knowing her capabilities had been tested under the most demanding circumstances possible. The principle that emerged from Maria's experience transcended military applications. Her story demonstrated that individuals who responded to setbacks by systematically addressing their weaknesses could achieve capabilities that exceeded their original potential. The rejection that had initially appeared as defeat had become the foundation for transformation that would not have occurred otherwise. The man or woman who destroys their weak self through disciplined response to failure creates a foundation that cannot be destroyed by others. Maria's journey from rejection to exceptional performance illustrated this principle through the crucible of military service and combat application. Her story became testament to the power of individual transformation in response to institutional challenge. The precision that had eliminated 2 enemy snipers at extreme range represented more than exceptional marksmanship. It embodied the focused determination that had emerged from rejection and disappointment. Every element of her shooting technique reflected the systematic improvement that had transformed initial failure into combat success. Maria's return to sniper school would occur under circumstances entirely different from her original application. She now possessed combat experience that few candidates could match, along with proven capabilities that exceeded the formal requirements for program entry. The institution that had once rejected her application now sought her participation in improving its evaluation methods. The transformation was complete, but the journey continued. Maria Santos had evolved from a candidate seeking institutional validation into a combat-proven professional whose capabilities spoke for themselves. Her rifle had indeed told a different story than the one predicted by formal evaluation, and that story had rewritten the narrative of what was possible when rejection became the catalyst for exceptional achievement. Conclusion: the intersection of Maria Santos' story with the broader principle of self-transformation through adversity illustrates the complex dynamics of human potential and institutional recognition. Her journey from sniper school rejection to combat success demonstrates that exceptional capabilities often emerge through response to challenge rather than initial demonstration of talent. The precision of those crucial shots at 900 meters represented more than technical proficiency. They embodied the focused determination that had emerged from systematic response to institutional rejection. Every aspect of her improved performance reflected the disciplined approach to self-improvement that had transformed initial disappointment into exceptional capability. The principle that the person who destroys their weak self cannot be destroyed by others found perfect expression in Maria's transformation. The institutional rejection that had initially appeared as defeat became the catalyst for developing capabilities that exceeded the original standards that had excluded her. Her story demonstrated that true strength often emerges not from avoiding failure but from responding to it with systematic improvement. The broader implications extend beyond military applications to any context where individuals face institutional barriers or unexpected setbacks. Maria's experience suggests that exceptional achievement often requires the motivation that can only come from overcoming significant challenges. The rejection that had seemed so devastating became the necessary catalyst for transformation that would not have occurred through easier paths. Her rifle had indeed told a different story than the one predicted by formal evaluation, and that story had become a testament to the power of individual transformation in response to adversity. The precision that eliminated threats to her fellow soldiers at extreme range embodied the focused determination that had emerged from rejection and systematic improvement. The woman who returned to sniper school bore little resemblance to the candidate who had been rejected months earlier. In her place stood a combat-proven professional whose capabilities had been demonstrated under the ultimate test of real-world application. The institutional validation she had once sought now seemed less important than the personal transformation that had occurred through responding to its absence. Maria Santos' story became a powerful illustration of the principle that those who systematically address their weaknesses through disciplined response to failure create capabilities that cannot be undermined by external challenges. Her journey from rejection to exceptional performance demonstrated that the strongest foundations are often built through overcoming the greatest obstacles rather than avoiding them entirely. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.